Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
SimSpeed TV brings you round 2 of the DoohanOK MX5 series with Jack Doohan. Last time out at Daytona International Speedway, it was high speed in these MX5s and thrilling racing. Round 2 brings us to Detroit Belle Isle, where things are slightly different, but certainly a challenging racetrack for these cars and the assembled drivers. Once again, 2 races coming up ahead of us. Qualifying underway right now. We're delighted to bring you live coverage of all of it here on SimSpeed TV with David Haynes, Reese Gardner and Daniel Yeaman in production.
Indeed we are. I am Reese Gardner, if anyone's curious about that. David Haynes bringing in the broadcast for us. Thank you so much for covering for me when I was running away to get my cup of tea. I am here now. Took a bit longer than I thought it would, but we're racing at Belle Isle. What a fantastic street circuit this is. I really, really love the racing that you get around this place. It's marked by concrete, isn't it, David? Concrete on the tarmac, concrete on the walls. It's basically got everything you want in a street circuit. Plenty of challenge and some big curbs to bounce off.
And a view across the strait at Canada as well. So
yes.
Plenty going on here at Detroit Belle Isle. And some good overtaking opportunities like turn 3, like turn 7, or just about anywhere you fancy it, I think, in an MX5 around here.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities for passing as well, particularly at turn 3. You can also send one up the inside at turns 4, 5, and 6 if you dare. Turn 7, bit of a difficult overtaking opportunity. The track narrows up quite a bit on the exit there, but apart from that, likely probably turn 11 is the last place you can really stand a chance of making a move until you get back to the first couple of corners. It's going to be really difficult for the drivers to make their moves around here. The Mazda MX5 isn't usually a car that we see racing around tracks like this.
So that's a look at our racing format coming up. Like we said, a 20-minute race 1 with the reverse grid from qualifying and a 40-minute race 2. We saw rounds of pit stops in race 2 at Daytona, expecting similar from Belle Isle, but this is a slightly lower fuel consumption track, I would suspect.
Yeah, I would imagine so as well. I mean, you've got the long straight coming up to turn 3, of course, and a nice little back stretch coming up to turn 7 as well. But apart from that, you are spending a lot of time around here off throttle, particularly in the fountain section. Just coming across the line here, looking to get his way through is Geordie Marcon. and he's really struggling through turn 2 there to try and get it done here. Hasn't set a qualifying time just yet. We've had 3 drivers that have set a time so far: Brad Newman, Zach Rattray-White, and of course Jack Doohan himself. 1.6 seconds currently the field spread, but Geordie is looking to make his claim here. 1 minute 46.6 was his time in practice, and you can only go better from there.
Cynic in me, and I'm disappointed in myself being so cynical so early, but with less than 10 cars and a reverse top 10, how much effort would you put into qualifying?
Yeah, I honestly don't know at this point. Yeah, it's a bit of a small field for this round, which is a shame. But regardless, there's some very heavy talents in this series, not least of them Gianni Lutsu and Jared Filsell as well has jumped into this as well. Gianni, of course, has had plenty of experience in races here on SimSpeed TV, competing in the Southern Cross Esports Championships over the course of the last couple of years. There goes Jack Doohan up to second place. Fantastic lap there, 1 minute 44.7. Less than a tenth of a second off Brad Newman's current fastest, and still 3 minutes left in qualifying. And let's see if he commits to this one and has another run at provisional pole.
Well, the top 4 sure look close, don't they, at the moment? So that's very, very promising. And there's always a good half a second of slipstream to be found even around a track like this. That was probably 2 to 3 seconds a lap around Daytona. But of course, that's Daytona. Don't let it trick you into thinking that this circuit is particularly easy as well. As we ride on board, you see how often there's sort of bumps in this concrete paving that necessitate turning in a little bit later, turning in a little bit earlier, just deviating your line a little bit and understanding the race course, where you can push it and where you can't. Gianni Lutsu is pushing it.
Absolutely, he is. 1 minute 44.4. So that's another few tenths that the likes of Doohan and Newman will have to find to beat him. We'll keep our eyes peeled here for any improvements from Jack as he snicks it down to first gear, monsters the curb at turn 11, and probably got into the wall a little bit there. Be interesting to see if that resulted in a 0x that would invalidate his lap time. He's certainly pushing hard through these last couple of corners. It is amazing the speed you can actually carry in these MX5s. They are sports cars through and through. So predicted lap 1 minute 44.6, and it's a 144.7 that he ultimately sets. That's only 9 thousandths of a second behind Brad Newman. Really incredible stuff.
And there's less than 1 minute 44 left on the clock, so that'll be it for qualifying for Jack, and everyone crosses the start-finish line at this time. Lutsu's definitely got one more in him. I think Brad Newman just has one more lap in him. And then there's a few other drivers out there, and a couple that we haven't seen times from yet, potentially because they've been nicking those concrete walls like you were talking about.
Yeah, indeed. Lutsu coming up to the end of the lap with a minute to go. Get the feeling that this will be a good lap from him. Another improvement on provisional pole. At least he'll be hoping so. But is he going to go for the pits at the end? He actually is. So, yeah, interesting stuff there. Maybe practicing a pit stop should he need to do so. Newman's just having fun out there. Meanwhile, he's secured a front row start, and he'll be nicely on his way through there. Jared Filsell not able to set a time in qualifying here, but we know how quick Jared is from many, many years of broadcasting his races on SimSpeed TV. I'm looking for him to potentially move up.
Yeah, not in qualifying, but when we get to the race, certainly a possibility. And he's in the company of a few other drivers who haven't set qualifying times just yet. Looks like Jordi Marson sneaks one in.
Yeah, he does indeed. 146.7, which is a bit off the pace, but and you never know, you might be able to get a little bit closer throughout the course of this 20-minute sprint that is coming up right now. So Gianni Lutsu jumping onto pole position with a 144.469. He is joined on the front row by the number 10 of Brad Newman. And then we will go to Jack Doohan for Alpine F1 team and Jeremy Fairbairn from Formula Ford UK with Zach Rattray-White and Jordi Marson starting on the third row. Jason Newman and Jamie Christensen will line up 7th and 8th, with Jared Filsell taking up the final spot on the grid. So, as we said, a small field, but a very quality field indeed. Should be good racing through and through.
Yeah, this first 20-minute one's going to be pretty interesting, I'd think. And you can use the wall, use the bumpers a bit.
Yeah, indeed you can. Plenty of bumper-to-bumper action in MX5 races in general on the iRacing service, but we'll see how clean these drivers end up being. You know, this is technically the sprint part of the night. It's going to be a 20-minute race here, and then a 5-minute warm-up, and then a 40-minute feature with a reverse grid, as we mentioned. So we shall see what kind of start these guys get. Standing start, it seems, in these MX5s, which is a bit difficult to nail with how long first gear is.
Yep, at some point a couple of years ago, the Cup car went away from the road car 6-speed H-pattern gearbox to a sequential racing gearbox with racing ratios, which made first gear very tall, but meant you're always in the sweet spot of revving out the engine as they are now on the grid.
And we are away. The DoohanOK MX5 Series Round 2 is go, and Gianni Lutsu is going to lead the way into Turn 1 here at Belle Isle, followed very closely by Brad Newman and Jack Doohan. Behind them, Zach Rattray-White pressuring Jeremy Fairbairn. And have a look at the racing that is already going on here. Already, Lutsu trying to break the draft. They are all together on their way into Turn 3, and having a look is Brad Newman on Gianni Lutsu. The racing is already fantastic here. It's a three-way fight between Jordi Marson, Jared Filsell, and Jamie Christensen. It looks like Marson has let Christensen and Filsell through. Meanwhile, side by side again between Fairbairn and Zach Rattray-White. Looks like Rattray-White's going to lose that position.
The tyres start cold, but the track certainly doesn't, and the racing certainly doesn't. It's 48 degrees Celsius on the track. They're slipping and sliding everywhere on what's normally just access roads through the park on the island at Belle Isle.
Yes, and not very well used roads either, so there's not much grip out there. If you're Zach Rattray-White, a bit too deep there into Turn 7, manages to keep it out of the barriers though, and oh man, they are pushing hard, aren't they? It looks like damage healing is on for this, so the drivers don't have to worry too much if they hit the wall, but meanwhile, this is a very intense fight, both for the top 3 and for 4th on back. It looks like Jack Doohan has really picked up the pace here on the first lap and is pressuring Brad Newman for 2nd.
And when I came here, the water level was a bit high in the lakes. There was water across the road in various places around here, so surely that brings on all sorts of whatnot as well. That means it's not a perfectly race-prepped surface. It's a lower grip than some others.
Yeah, you especially feel it through those first couple of turns, especially with the bump on the exit there.
Especially for GM exec.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh dear. Here we go. Here comes Doohan. Up the inside of Brad Newman at Turn 3. Gets it done very nicely, very cleanly. Gianni Lutsu is starting to break away from these two, though. Consistency is key, and we know that Gianni is a both fast and consistent driver with real-life karting experience, and so he'll be right at home in these cars. Let's see what kind of exit Doohan can get here from Turn 6. It looks like it's going to be just enough to build up a tiny gap to Brad Newman.
Yeah, and just edge slightly closer towards Gianni Lutzu as well. The bottleneck at the moment, maybe Zach Rattray White, dropping away from the top three, scuttling away. He's got Jeremy Fairbairn, Jared Felsell, and Jamie Christensen, the Triple J behind him.
Yeah, Zach
Rattray is going to
Rattray.
be his hottest 100.
Jesus. There we go. Didn't take long for the first Haynes pun of the night, but Rattray White is, obviously in a... Oh, dear. Okay, that's a spin for, I believe that's Christensen. That's unfortunate for him, but with damage healing on, he can continue. He is now behind Jordi Marson and running dead last at the moment. So this now becomes a three-way battle as Zach Rattray White hits the wall coming out of the last turn, and he's going to have to let both of these guys through at the first corner. Maybe not quite Felsell. Nope, he's going to fall in behind by the time they get to turn one. This top three fight is still on. Look at this. Jack Doohan has passed Gianni Lutzu for the lead, and Brad Newman wants to get amongst it.
Yeah, they're bump drafting on the streets in Detroit. Three wide, heading down towards turn three with a view of the statue, but a view of the braking markers. Around the outside, Brad Newman is going to keep his nose in front, but he'll be around the outside of the next corner here as well. So difficult, so dangerous to be offline here. He holds onto it, comes across, slams the door. Brad Newman leads.
This is fun. I like this. Doohan putting on a very strong drive at the moment, wasn't quite able to match Newman and Lutzu on qualifying pace as we get another look at what happened to Jamie Christensen there. And Jack Doohan, this is how he got the lead from Brad. Looks to me like just a better run out of the last couple of corners and round the outside of turn one. A very impressive move.
They're all off again for the lead of the race.
Tell you what, 4th, 5th, and 6th are catching up to them now. Interesting stuff.
Doesn't hurt when the leaders run three wide on a narrow street circuit, does it?
Yeah, certainly. Any time you can get is worth a lot here at Belle Isle. I'm noticing how difficult it is for Jack to put the power down here. He is sliding that thing out of every single corner, but it doesn't seem to be hurting his pace any.
Yeah, interesting. Different ways to drive it, of course, and where the tyre gives grip. Sometimes you can get a little sideways response to that. That's very much the IndyCar style of driving something. Look at this from Doohan. Sacrifice a little bit of the first right-hander to really maximise and straighten up the exit of turn two for this long run down towards turn three. And he's seen Brad Newman go around the outside before, and he'll try to have some of that himself as well.
Harder on the brakes coming into turn three. Has he gone too deep? No, he manages to gather it up and takes the lead back from Brad Newman. And that little exchange has brought Felsell, Fairbairn and Rattray White directly into this battle. It is now a six-way fight for the lead of this race.
All getting involved with just the exceptions of Jamie Christensen and Jordi Marson. So your top six. 1.5 seconds, running down the strand, Canada to their left, Detroit to their right, casinos either side of the river.
Yeah, and how much of a gamble is it going to be to try to go side by side through turn 7 here? Felsell now right on the back of Gianni Lutzu, super late on the brakes coming into turn 9, and the double apex of turn 10 down to the hairpin of turn 11. You got to try and nail the exit out of here. It's very bumpy on the exit. In more powerful cars, it's not uncommon to see drivers spinning out. These MX5s, they are a less powerful sports car here, so they can just nail the throttle out of those corners. Felsell is known for being very fast in the MX5s. He created the Virtual Racing School data pack and setups for these cars a couple of years back. He might still do that, I'm not too sure. But regardless, he knows how to wheel these things around.
There'll be a couple of scrapes on the mirrors, couple scrapes on the doors, and a couple of paint marks left on the walls by the end of this. And it's just race 1 of 2. Super defensive line from Doohan in towards turn 3. Newman then looks to swap over under, but he's blocked on the exit, and it's game on.
Game on again, coming into the right angle corners of 5 and 6. Doohan has managed to get about a car length's gap here, and he is dancing on that rear end all the way through, bouncing off the wall again. Man, these guys are leaving absolutely nothing on the table.
Once again on the strand, beside the river, connecting the Great Lakes, dividing the US and Canada. Just across the other side of the river is where Justin Prince lives, so let's all wave at him.
Indeed, I've worked with Justin before. Very good to work with one of the eminent sim racing commentators out there. But Jack Doohan has managed to gain a little bit more of a gap now over Brad Newman. That tells me that Newman might have been working his tyres a little too hard, could potentially have overheated them. So now Doohan can just streak away from these guys as they start to fight in a four-way battle for second place.
So with just a little over 11 minutes left, not approaching the halfway point just yet, haven't crossed that, but it's predicting 7 more laps, and I'm predicting 7 more laps of this. Maybe Lutzu to put his front bumper to the rear bumper of Brad Newman in second, and just catch that little lead, that little advantage, those few car lengths that Jack Doohan's built over this lap and the previous.
Here comes Phil Sell meanwhile. Brad giving him a little bit of a slipstream there on the way down to turn 3, and Phil Sell will demote Gianni Lutzu to 4th spot. Jeremy Fairbairn is just sitting pretty there in the background in his red car here. Let's see what he can do to find his way past Lutzu. It looks like Fairbairn will get the move done on Lutzu around the outside of turn 5. Beautiful stuff there. Looks like Lutzu and Phil Sell slowed each other up a bit there. Oh, and they're still side by side on the exit of 6. Oh, Brad Newman, meanwhile, getting a run here on Jack Doohan. Easy does it. It looks like Doohan might have hit the wall on the exit of turn 6, and Newman will fling his way up the inside of turn 7, bounce off the curb, and get the move done as there's a spin in the background there. That's Fairbairn that's gone around.
Yeah, loops it back around straight, drops away from this pack where we're side by side through parts of the racetrack. You don't normally go side by side. Everyone dreams of that move, going around the outside of the left-handers to bomb it down the inside of the right-handed hairpin. We give it a red-hot go, but it looks like the lead's retained by Newman, is squeezed into the wall.
Oh, Doohan! Whoa, no! Jack Doohan gets into the wall there. He did squeeze Phil Sell a little bit, but he went too hard into the corner there. And so now it is a 1-2 for Phil Sell and Newman, and then Doohan back to 4th spot. We'll see again what happened here to Zach Rattray White. This was a lap ago, and unfortunately just getting all crossed up through the hairpin, and this is what happened to Fairbairn. Inside for turn 7, sometimes when you get hit with a car going around the outside, that's what happens. And then, oh dear. A lap later for Fairbairn there, just getting stuck in the concrete for a moment.
Hit it way too hard, and when you do, you seem to get stuck across some of the seams there if it's a long sliding impact.
Yeah, we just saw that happen there for Jordi Marson. Well, the number 10 of Brad Newman leads the way, followed by the 94 of Jared Phil Sell. You see that Lutzu and Doohan still chasing them down, but Doohan, I think, now is the one that's pushing a little too hard to catch back up to these guys. A lot of space now between our drivers as we have just over 8 minutes to go in the race.
Those walls are copying a whole bunch of hits left and right. But Newman and Phil Sell leading, from Lutzu 3rd, Jack Doohan having dropped back to that 4th spot. Just a tiny bit away from proper attacking distance in this street fight.
And what Lutzu and Doohan will be hoping is that the teammates will fight with each other here and slow each other up. Phil Sell wants to have a go at Newman. Newman blocks him coming up to the final corner and the start-finish line. Will Phil Sell be able to do the Doohan and go around the outside at turn 1? No. Looks like Newman's going to fling it right in there. He's going to compromise his exit a bit here, and that's exactly what Phil Sell wants in the slipstream now of the number 10. And he'll be forced to go around the outside here at turn 3. See how close Newman is running to the wall. He doesn't want to give Phil Sell any advantage there on the inside line. Phil Sell is late on the brakes. They go side by side through the corner. Do they both make it out? They do. Will they make it through the next few?
Phil Sell slots in behind, but through all of that, look at how much closer Lutzu's gotten, and he's a chance to strike now. Lowest point of the racetrack here. Don't ask me where the highest part of the racetrack is. It's not quite Spa-Francorchamps or Mount Panorama for elevation distance. It is a little Sebring for bumpiness, though.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the amount of work going through the suspension around a place like this, to say nothing of the high curbs that these drivers have been abusing all the way through this first race here. Phil Sell, again, he tried up the inside of Newman, but can't get it done at turn 7, and this battling has brought Lutzu and Doohan right back into it.
Sure has. Doohan taking the fastest lap of the race earlier in the race.
Oh, no! Oh, Brad Newman loses the lead and goes back to 4th in the space of a single corner there. Phil Sell flung it up the inside, and now Lutzu looks to take advantage. Phil Sell just power sliding it out of these corners here. Almost gets a touch from Doohan coming through the second last turn. But Lutzu will lead across the start-finish line. Oh, no! Oh! Massive hit there between Jack Doohan and Brad Newman. They both get into the wall, and this is the chance that Jamie Christensen needs to get back into the top 3, but it's side by side for the lead. Jared Phil Sell and Gianni Lutzu giving no quarter.
Looks like Phil Sell's got the inside, but we've seen drivers do really well, bombing it deep on the brakes down here at 3 and going around the outside, taking the flat course away and off the curbs. Not something that's going to happen this time, but a strike back from Lutzu to get down the inside of turn 4. Again, a massive curb on the inside, bit of contact made. And staying off of the wall has been successful for Lutzu, who leads.
Yeah, this is hard and fast racing, isn't it? Phil Sell still trying his best to grab the win here in race 1 at Belle Isle. But Gianni Lutzu muscling his way through into the lead and continuing to muscle Phil Sell out of a chance to take that lead. It's a slightly better run for Phil Sell down the back stretch, though. What will they do here into turn 7? Phil Sell's going deep. He's all the way over the curb. Lutzu gives him room. We'll have the inside for turn 9.
And then up here, We've seen drivers look to just open it up, keep the throttle pinned through this double left-hander to bomb it down the inside into the tight right-hander that follows. But it looks like Phil Sell's just about covered that one off. Even if he's not taking the optimal racing line, he's keeping the track position this late in the race.
Oh, see how aggressive Phil Sell is over the curb there. I think he just... Oh, sorry, Lutzu over the curb. My apologies. It just seems like... Man, I was about to say he should probably focus on lining up his exits, but it seems like he's perfectly fine otherwise. The slipstream's just so strong in these cars. He can continue to pressure Phil Sell, but he gets into the wall. Coming on of turn 1, and that will give Phil Sell potentially the gap he needs, unless he decides to have a slide out of turn 2, which is exactly what he did. So Christensen currently in 3rd place behind in the green MX5, but see the red one of Jack Doohan starting to creep up on him. Could still be a top 3 finish for the number 6.
Remember when Christensen spun and was last?
Yep, I remember.
The saying goes, I believe, you can't have quit in Detroit.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Jamie Christensen has driven a consistent race aside from that early spin. And thanks to all of the battling that's been going on, he's been able to just make up that gap. Speaking of battles, Lutzu and Phil Sell side by side again, and Lutzu will take the lead back from Jared Phil Sell. Christensen took 2 seconds out of them on the previous 2 laps. This is incredible stuff.
Sure is. And again, you're going to see them look to cover the inside at the right-hander on the exit here, lest you see that Phil Sell was positioning himself to throw it down the inside there. Lutzu had it covered, so Phil Sell couldn't. And as much as Christensen's catching the leaders, so's Jack Doohan. He slots in ahead of Christensen, who I don't think put up too much fight. He's going to see if he can hitch himself to get toward the leaders with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I think Christensen's put himself in a really good position here. He can stick behind Doohan, he can stay in the slipstream, and we know how quick Doohan is and how hard Lutzu and Phil Sell have been battling. They are costing each other a lot of time. We could have a 4-way battle for the lead on the final lap if things go everyone's way. They just brush the concrete on the exit of turn 2. That's how hard they're pushing here. It may only be a small race with 7 cars in it, but that doesn't matter to these guys. They want to win. Phil Sell wants to win, puts Lutzu into the tyre barriers, and here comes Jack Doohan and Jamie Christensen.
Pass on the grass. Doohan's up in a second, but his Phil Sell 7/10 of a second lead unassailable. Lutzu covers off Christensen, who remains in 4th place, and you see your top 4 coming towards the strand for the penultimate time.
Oh, Phil Sell just a little too deep there. He's going to have to block Doohan somehow. No, he can't do it. Doohan just has too much pace. Phil Sell slips immediately behind Doohan here, and a brief slipstream on the way down to turn 7. How hard does Phil Sell want to push this? He's not going to make any moves in turn 7. Potentially, chance for a move up the inside at turn 11. He'll get the run. He'll try. He always does as Doohan gets into the wall again. Here comes Phil Sell, not to mention Gianni Lutzu, who decides, yeah, I'm going to have a go at second. I'm going to have a go at the lead at some point if things go my way. Big slide for Phil Sell, and Christensen is briefly through into 3rd.
Doohan, Lutzu, Christensen, Phil Sell is your top 4, looking like the full set of wiggles with all the different colours going on, but they're going to see no colour on the flag at the line. It will be the white flag for one more lap in race 1 of Detroit Belle Isle, and it's anyone's game right now.
Yeah, any of these drivers on screen could come away with the win here. Will it be Doohan, Lutzu, Phil Sell, or Christensen by the end of the lap? Turn 3 is the big passing point on the lap, and Doohan trying his best to block the advances of Lutzu and Phil Sell. Oh, have a look at this. It's going to be 3 wide for the lead on the way into turn 3. Phil Sell trying to split Doohan and Lutzu. He backs out. Doohan gets up the inside. Lutzu finds the tyre barrier again. Christensen back up into 3rd for now, and there goes Phil Sell up the inside of Doohan. Will he be able to maintain this through turns 5 and 6? Christensen briefly thought about going for the lead there. They're 2 by 2 on the way into 6.
Phil Sell with the inside for this right-hander here. There's a bit of contact on the way in. There's a big bit of contact on the way out. Christensen goes through to the lead.
Jamie Christensen from nowhere. He is going for the win here at Belle Isle Race 1, but Gianni Lutzu is going to fight him hard here. Doohan manages to recover, but he's got 8 seconds to make up in the space of just a few corners. If there's a crash, then he'll have a chance, but I get the feeling these guys are going to try and fight with each other without crashing to the end if they can help it. Lutzu in the purple car on the inside here. Jamie Christensen in the green MX5. What can he do to get back past Lutzu here? It's going to be a slipstream to the line, I think. Christensen, he's got the run. He's close enough. He's close enough to do it. Just need to make sure that he nails the exit here. Lutzu will try and hold it as flat as he possibly can. They both manage to avoid the wall, but the checkered flag is out, and it looks like it's going to be Gianni Lutzu by just a car length, maybe even less, and wins race 1 at Belle Isle.
From Christensen, from Phil Sell, Jack Doohan will limp it around to the line just ahead of Jeremy Fairbairn, who didn't really feature a whole lot in this race after early problems. Maybe race 2 can be his chance, and then I think we'll have Brad Newman, Jordi Masson, and Zach Rattray-White parked it at some point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Jason Newman not taking to the start. So that is checkered flag out for the first race here at Belle Isle. Lutzu wins by 1.5 tenths of a second over Jamie Christensen, who, remember, was something like 7 or 8 seconds off the lead when he had a spin. That shows you how quickly you can recover in these cars. Phil Sell completes the podium, making it 3 seconds between our top 3. Jack Doohan crashing on the final lap will finish 4th ahead of Jeremy Fairbairn, Brad Newman, Jordi Masson, and Zach Rattray-White retiring 5 laps from the end. Oh dear. Well, That's going to bring us to a short break here on SimSpeed TV, a 5-minute warm-up session in between these two races here. Don't go away. The DoohanOK MX5 series is going to come back for a 40-minute feature in just a few minutes' time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching the DoohanOK MX5 series here from Belle Isle, round 2. I'm Rhys Gardner with David Haynes in the comms box. I tell you what, David, that first race really went off. Definitely exceeded my expectations. This is going to be a fun race too.
Yeah, and we might even get an extra car or two on the grid as well. I think it'll still let them to the second race if they weren't in the first one. So we'll see what happens about that. But yeah, thrilling times from Daytona. Good stuff here at Belle Isle. Maybe we'll have a peek at the rest of the calendar.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's a 6-round series. Of course, we are at round 2. Jacob Reed and Ayumu Iwasa took the wins at Daytona back on the 15th of June. Bathurst is going to be the next round on the 9th of July, and then we're running through August as well, going to Sandown, Circuit of the Americas, and Virginia International Raceway. This is certainly a great schedule.
I mean, we can all look forward to Bathurst, no matter the car. That'll be good. Sandown, nice as well. COTA and VIR to complete that schedule.
Yeah, indeed. I'm keen to go back down to Australia and see, tracks that these drivers are very familiar with indeed. Bathurst, I think, is going to be one of the highlights of the season, but VIR always puts on a good show as well. Interesting to note that they're using the west layout of Circuit of the Americas, the same layout that Supercars ran when they went there back in 2014. So, I'm sure that'll be off-track city.
It'll be interesting, no doubt. It'll be quite interesting to see that COTA West layout. I'm already imagining the sends into turn 1 at COTA because that is so wide on the way at the top of the hill into that very, very sharp corner. It just invites you to... There's always another lane to open towards the inside of the corner there, but you'll compromise yourself for the exit. You can get switchbacked. We'll see. And then you've got only part of those formidable S's, but then lots of other switchbacks, slow corners in the tail part of the lap at COTA, underneath that big tower that they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to move through to the second race of the night here at Belle Isle, 40 minutes with the field inverted. We are expecting a pit stop from the drivers, and it is possible there'll be a competition caution as well if the drivers get too spaced out. So looking forward to seeing when that competition caution comes and how long the cars can last on their restricted fuel tanks. It would certainly be interesting to see, if the competition caution comes out when there's a good majority of our drivers that haven't pitted yet. That'll be an interesting split on strategy.
Yeah, pretty quick pit lane, quick pit delta through here as well. Not a massive pit lane. and the pit lane speed 64 kilometers an hour through here, so you don't lose too much when you go to pit at Belle Isle.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a short pit lane, and cuts out a good portion of that initial stretch, coming out spat right in the middle of turn 2. So we shall see how much chaos there is in this second race after a suitably chaotic race 1. Jason Newman was not in the session when we went live for race 1. I don't expect he's going to be taking to the grid for race 2. Zach Rattray White will line up alone on the first row with Marson and Brad Newman behind him. Fairbairn and Doohan round out the top 6, and then we have Phil Selt, Christensen and Lutzu rounding out our field here. Another standing start, David, and man, if the start of race 1 was anything to go by, I'm looking forward to the start of this one.
Yeah, because once again, it's still a very hot track, but they'll all start on quite cold tyres, and I reckon we are a chance of seeing Jason Newman if he's allowed to grid. No, I reckon we're not. Yeah. Change my tone very quickly.
Indeed, it's a bit too late now. The revs are rising, and we are away for the second race of DoohanOK MX5 at Belle Isle. Rattray White from pole position will protect the lead from Jordi Marson into the second corner. Already seeing Phil Sell and Lutzu dicing for last place, but given their pace, might very well see it be the race for the lead soon. Marson, with a poor run off turn 2, is going to let the drivers go here as the number 7 of Jamie Christensen will move his way up to the 5th spot there as Lutzu and Phil Sell continue their fight from race 1 up the inside of turn 3. But Rattray White breaking away to a lead at the moment. Jack Doohan will pass Jeremy Fairbairn for 3rd on the way into turn 5, and for the time being looks like Rattray White has the advantage, but we've seen how easy it is to catch up.
Yeah, not only does the drivers really want to fight with whoever's leading, they'll work together a little bit behind if they have to. And we've got things like those pit stops, etc., coming up in this race that could penalise anyone who gets too far ahead.
Yeah, indeed. Again, we're not quite sure what exactly the pit stop is going to entail, but it'll likely be a splash and dash to get to the end of the 40 minutes here. So the field all still very much together. Marson has fallen to last spot and is dropping off the rest of the field, but we've seen that if he can keep it consistent, there's a lot of potential for him to move up, because have a look at the likes of Christensen, Doohan, etc. just tapping the walls there on the exits of the final corners.
And the other drivers giving them a little tap here and there. Christensen gets super loose on the way towards turn 1 with Jeremy Fairbairn all over him, looking to make an imprint on race number 2. How about that in the background? Lutzu.
Oh dear, yeah, Lutzu at turn 2 there. Of course, damage healing is on, so he'll keep that going right away. Get another view of what happened to him here. Just caught the wall and then was helped around by Jared Phil Sell. Seems to be something that happens a lot here at Belle Isle. You rub the wall in the wrong way and it just hooks you in.
Yeah, for shame. So Rattray White, again, not featuring much in race 1. Leading by over a second now. Doohan, Newman, Christensen, Fairbairn, the group behind. And Doohan and Newman stand a great chance of maybe being able to run him down. Phil Sell and Lutzu, who are some of the quickest drivers of race number 1, are back in 7th and 8th, so it's not going to be them doing it just yet.
Yeah, no, certainly not. I'm just waiting with bated breath to see where the first real big move is. They're all just in line at the moment, keeping themselves in it, waiting for that opportunity Any small mistake from a driver in front will absolutely give them the chance they need. Rattray White probably a bit too far ahead for the slipstream to be of any real effect. They got to focus on their corner exits if they want to get the moves done.
Favorite Detroit artist, and why is it Kid Rock?
Oh, I can't say Eminem.
You could say Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, Aretha Franklin. I'll say Aretha Franklin, sure.
Lots of great choices, and Kid Rock.
Yes, indeed. I'll have a look at the ground that Doohan and Newman have made up here on Zach Rattray White. The slipstream coming down to turn 3 is very strong, and it looks like Doohan was just able to slip in there. See how much he gained on the last lap in sectors 1 and 3. Seems like sector 2 belongs to Rattray White for the time being, and it's around about this part of the circuit that sector 2 is. So yeah, he's just been focusing on his exits from turn 6 and is holding on nicely.
Bit of a bump to second place from third place. Brad Newman's just trying to help Jack Doohan close down the lead that Zach Rattray White has got, and it's been pretty effective, especially with moments like that. Down to 0.4 of a second, 0.3 of a second. You don't need me to tell you no more. Doohan is all over Zach Rattray White for this race lead.
Yeah, and have a look at Rattray White sliding his way down to turn 11. That's compromised his run through the corner, and Doohan gives him a little tap on the exit. Rattray White will now be defensive here, coming into the double right towards the end of the lap. No chance for Doohan to do an over-under there. They got to hold on to the throttle and keep the exit clean, and they'll be able to get it done into turn 1. Rattray White will potentially go defensive. No, he's going to leave the door open for Doohan on the inside. Well, we've seen around the outside moves work at turn 1 before, and it looks like it's going to work for Zach Rattray White there, but the exit of turn 2 will be compromised. Doohan already with a magnificent run, and Brad Newman's going to try and follow him through.
Yeah, it's a tactical mistake if you can't park them in turn 2 and block their run, because you let them get a clean one. This is what happens. Doohan through to the race lead. Newman following him to come around the outside here and just put so much pressure on Zach Rattray White. Christensen all over him as well.
Yeah, you see the brake tapping there. They're trying to find a space to just slot in and get the best run through the corners here. Look at how hard Rattray White is pushing. He's just lost the lead. He wants it back in short order, but Jack Doohan will lead the way coming onto the avenue.
It's a top 5 at the moment, heading down the back straight facing Canada.
Oh, bumper to bumper through turn 7. This is looking very tense at the moment. 5-way fight for the lead of this race. Jared Filsell, meanwhile, is going to stand a great chance of catching up to these guys with how much they'll be slowing each other up in this train. Filsell currently 3 seconds off the lead, but I would imagine that's going to come down fairly shortly.
Stands a good chance, and what we haven't seen is anyone look to that pit entry just yet, and now I've said it. You're welcome.
You manifested it into existence. Rattray White and Christensen are your first drivers to pit here after only 7 minutes of racing completed. So let's see what their pit stop times are like. We'll get an idea as to what sort of pit stop times Doohan, Newman, Fairbairn, etc. will be aiming for. But the fight will continue on here between Jack Doohan and Brad Newman. Doohan's going to let Newman through there at turn 3, potentially a tactical decision.
Well, now you've got to think about where are we going to be relative to those other guys. Do you have more sensible pit stop times than me for Christensen and Rattray White?
No, I don't actually. They're showing
Right.
only a second each in the box. So
Not even enough to hand the driver a muesli bar.
yeah, no, that's really interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye out here on their pit stops here on the replay. So Christensen and Rattray White make their way in reasonably well. Doesn't look like they had any black flags to their name. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking it'd be a splash and dash of fuel to get to the end. I wasn't expecting that little of a splash and that quick of a dash. Look at that. They just stop and keep going.
Oh, okay. They didn't have black flags or nothing? Like, what's going...
Yeah.
Did that just satisfy the rule?
I think so. I mean,
want another Belle Isle fun fact?
What's that?
That large paved pit lane and paddock area, when I came by a couple of years ago and the track wasn't set up, there was like police driver training happening there, and they were like practicing their pit maneuvers and stuff.
Nice. Love
Which
that.
is funny because, like, I guess even when the racetrack isn't here, it's still a pit complex.
Yeah. Love that. That's great. Yeah, I do want to visit this area of Detroit. It certainly would be nice to walk these streets. Of course, now that the circuit is not used in the real world anymore, there is no more racing on Belle Isle, but it lives on here in the iRacing simulator.
Except the problem is that the public roads are one-way streets in the wrong direction. So either you ride the course the wrong way, or you just keep a really good lookout for cars.
Yeah, well, if I'm walking, it won't be much of an issue, right?
Nah.
Yeah, use your legs and, one-way signs be damned. Here comes Jack Doohan to try and get the lead back from Brad Newman. On board from the cockpit view, we'll see what kind of wheel work goes in here. Doohan pushing hard on the way into the corners here. But it's those tiny little taps to the wall that really make it difficult. Newman having to slop a little bit more in the hairpin there, but Doohan can't take advantage on the exit.
No one yet to react to the Christensen and Rattray White strategy. You come around the lap plenty of times in a 40-minute race here with the opportunity to look to it. Here we go from your leaders. Now this is going to be 1 second stops here or what? Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye here on Newman, Doohan and Fairbairn, who have all come into the pit lane. Phil Sells stays out a little longer. So Newman, Doohan and Fairbairn make their way into their boxes, and it is going to be...
These are all longer.
Yeah, wow, about 3 seconds, 4, 5 seconds even for Jeremy Fairbairn. He's actually still in the lane. I think there's been a problem there for Fairbairn. 10.8 seconds stopped. These guys might be banking on the competition caution to shorten the race length and means that they don't have to put as much fuel in the cars. If that's true, it's a bit of a gamble.
Lutzu also with 10 seconds, so Fairbairn and Lutzu with very similar looking pit strategies. The others, I think 2 seconds gets you a windshield tear off, like just.
Yeah, potentially. Man, all right, Jordi Marson also in the lane too, but he's changing tyres, which I don't think he intended to do, but he'll certainly have some nice rubber towards the end of the race. Phil Sell continues to stay out here, but considering when everyone else pitted, I would expect him to come in at the end of this lap, if not the next one, unless Phil Sell has some weird reverse strategy up his sleeve. The thing is, if you're on your own here, then yeah, I mean, you can make up time on people who are in battles, but you don't have the benefit of the slipstream, so Phil Sell might be costing himself here.
Yeah, very possibly. He's now the only car on track that hasn't stopped, if you want to call what Christensen and Rattray White did stopping. What's the blue thing on the right on the dash there?
I have absolutely no idea.
It's two of us.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what half of these switches and buttons do. I do know that that red button is most likely a kill switch of some kind for the electronics, but we shall we shall leave that discussion for another time, I think, as Phil Sell wheels his way around the Belle Isle Street Circuit. He was the fastest car on track. He was faster than Christensen and Rattray White, who were the only other cars to complete a full lap without going into the pits. But then he's not that far ahead of them on time. Phil Sell will... he's leading by about 16 seconds, and it looks to me like a pit cycle costs you about 20-ish seconds or so on overall time. So Phil Sell will still come out around about 3 seconds behind everyone else when he comes into the lane. But aside from that, the battle will be on.
The AIM dash unit there just plugs into the engine electronics. It doesn't replace or override the normal gauge cluster in the car, so you can see the speedo up past 150, 160 k's an hour there at times behind the motorsport dash that the driver can see.
Yeah, I love the way these global MX5 Cup cars are set up. They share a lot of componentry with the road-going MX5. They basically are a road car with just the bare minimum to be legal for racing, like a roll cage and all of that. But apart from that, I think they have race-tuned dampers as well. Potentially, you can't adjust them any, only bump and rebound stiffness on the dampers. Aside from that, very close to what you would likely get in an MX5 on the road, gearbox aside.
Yeah, the engines are basically entirely unmodified. Taken out of the car at the start of the build, sealed, put back with the car at the end. Phil Sell's pulled a bit on these guys. So looking at Christensen and Rattray White second and third, Phil Sell's pulled a little bit of time on them the way that they've been battling. Don't think he's put much time on Doohan and Newman. So they're getting closer. Once again, I think you're going to see second and third sort of fight it out a little bit, which is what Phil Sell was hoping to avoid, I think, with what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, I think Phil Sell might be banking on these guys racing a bit more aggressively than they are at the moment. They're content to just race in line at the moment. This being a longer race, the big kamikaze moves don't really pay off like they would have in race one. Oh, little problem there for Christensen. Slight technical issue, but looks like that's been sorted out for the time being. Rattray White with a bit of a poor run through those last few corners. It's going to bring Doohan and Newman right into the battle, and we'll see how much time they cost each other. Phil Sell leads by 17.3 seconds, which is just about nearly a pit stop. Oh no! And that's going to really benefit Phil Sell as Rattray White and Doohan come together, and Newman as well into the wall.
Jamie Christensen's the only one who continues undamaged out of all of this. As third, fourth, fifth trip over each other.
Oh, competition caution.
It brings out the yellow.
It does indeed. So this is the problem now for Phil Sell. This is an iRacing caution, and those are run to oval rules, which means the pit lane is closed. So Phil Sell can't take his mandatory pit stop yet.
Yes and no.
I mean, he could ask very nicely to have black flags cleared.
Memory serves, I think that happened at Daytona, so that's why I say yes and no, because then it also relies on Phil Sell having seen or remembered that from Daytona.
Yeah, this is true. And, well, Phil Sell is basically an elephant with the memory he's got. He is going to go for the pits and take that chance anyway. Let's see what kind of pit stop we see from the multiple-time V8 Scops champion, with Jamie Christensen still rolling through at racing speed. Phil Sell is about to pull into the box now. He stops, and This is going to be a pit stop of about 4 seconds for Jared Filsell, and he will come out of the pit lane ahead of Jamie Christensen. Well, actually, will he? Is Christensen going to have to give up that place? I guess it depends on which cone counts for positions ahead.
Yeah, either way, he'll be all right. He'll be somewhere in the top 3, and we'll have a pretty stunning race to get us to the end. Who the hell is driving that iRacing pace car? They are motoring it along. The pace truck is just getting towards the back straight, but we'll try to see. Where's the blend? Where does it start counting? I think it's that blue stripe there.
Yeah.
Is what you'd call the like safety car line, the commit line. So Christensen had it, and they have found the truck.
They have indeed. The iRacing pace truck that you usually see on rallycross and dirt oval events. Of course, pace car choice is completely open when you're setting up a hosted session. So
4 options. What's your favorite?
Well, what have we got? We've got the Mustang, we've got the generic iRacing pace car, we've got the Porsche 911, and we've got this thing. I'd have
FR500S.
Yes, true, but I think I'd have to go for the truck. We're in Detroit.
I've really grown to the iRacing generic sedan. I love me a little bit of home brand sedan action.
Yeah, I do like it too. I think the iRacing pace truck might be a generic one as well. I'm not too sure. It does. It resembles a Silverado.
So it's like a silver don't.
Oh, a little bit of contact under caution there.
The Chevrolet Silverados assembled at several plants, both in Flint, Michigan, Pontiac, Michigan, Roanoke, Indiana, Springfield, Ohio, Oshawa, Ontario, Canada, and Silao, Guanajuato, Mexico. I've butchered the pronunciation out of that.
Yeah, well, you'd say...
I reckon this one's come from Flint.
Yeah, it'd have to, otherwise just wouldn't be right.
Pontiac, of course, basically a suburb of Detroit and the namesake of the former Pontiac brand.
I'm so sad that Pontiac's not around anymore.
Yeah, for shame. So I've long thought someone should have an iRacing special event, and you're free to license this one, by the way. The Pontiac Solstice. So, longest day of the year, Michigan Speedway, Pontiac Solstice.
Yes. That sounds good to me. Are you saying like a race in like that goes the full extent of daylight hours on the longest day of the year?
Yeah, sun up to sundown.
I like it.
Michigan Speedway's 2 mile oval in iRacing's Pontiac Solstice.
That is a very good idea. I would get behind that.
We've just missed the boat for this year. So it'll have to happen in like 363 days time.
Indeed. Well, unless we go by Southern Hemisphere timing.
Yeah, but that's not where Pontiac is.
Yeah, I suppose so. Oh well, it just gives us extra time to prepare, doesn't it? It could be the next Hugh Jass special event.
It could be.
You never know. Well, got a bit of racing going on under caution here as the drivers get ready to get back going here. Lights are off on the pace truck, and we shall see with the field compressed who has it in them here to get it done. Doohan, Lutzu and Marson are running a little bit further behind these guys. Fairbairn is in the red car at the back of this train. I'm not exactly sure why Doohan, Lutzu and Marson have decided to leave it till this late in the lap to get closer. Actually, it looks like they're hanging back. I get the feeling that Doohan and Lutzu might be trying something sneaky here and getting a better run than everyone into turn one. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Meanwhile, I've determined this is somewhere between a 2013 and a 2018 third-generation Silverado that's heading to pit lane.
Little check up here. Christensen's backing them all up. And the green flag flies and we have contact on the restart. The lap 13 begins. 13 is an unlucky number. Who's going to be the unluckiest here on this lap? Christensen leads out of turn 2, followed by Filsell, Newman, Rattray White, Doohan, Fairbairn, Lutzu, and Marson. Everyone is nice and compressed here. Draft being broken by Jamie Christensen on the way into turn 3.
So was that enough safety car for the fuel strategy of Jamie Christensen and Zach Rattray White, or in fact even the fuel strategy of Filsell, Newman and Doohan? We suspect Fairbairn and Lutzu will be all good. We know that Jordi Masson took 4 new tyres and he's right at the back there, and it is still a super hot track, 48 Celsius. It's not necessarily abrasive, but it is hot.
Yeah, certainly is. Concrete, of course, builds up rubber differently to asphalt. I remember from commentating NASCAR trucks at Dover, you know, the rubber sits on top of the concrete rather than embedding itself into it like it does with asphalt. So depending on where you are on the circuit, it can get a little slippery in these hot conditions. Speaking of slippery, Filsell tried up the inside of Christensen there. Super Drifto champion this through the run to turn 11. Brad Newman will be right with him here. Rattray White defending from Jack Doohan coming into the corner. Fairbairn and Lutzu are right with them.
Well, the reverse entry sure wasn't successful back there, but gave it a good attempt. And Christensen will survive another lap in the lead of this race.
Oh yeah, here we go then. Can Christensen hold on for victory, or will the good mates of Filsell and Newman fight their way through? Oh, looks like Zach Rattray White's had a poor run coming out of turn 2, might have brushed the wall there. He's going to fall the way to the rear of the train and battle with Marson for a bit. Further up, Jack Doohan holding on over Jeremy Fairbairn. And it looks to me like Filsell and Newman are starting to work together here to catch up to Christensen.
Well, super close. Everyone stands an opportunity to gain some spots here. Don't want to be in the wall too many places too often. And if you get away with the damage, it won't maximize your speed onto the straights, which is oh so important here. And you see Gianni Lutzu maximising his opportunity to get ahead of Fairbairn now on their way down towards the big braking zone at the end of the straight here. Christensen's still leading. Lutzu making a position this time through the straight. Now Masson thinks, I'll have a bit of a dig at Zach Rattray White if I can. Filsell looks pretty racy though right now from that third place.
Oh, absolutely he does. There isn't...
Sorry for about the new tyres.
Jordi Marson, unfortunately, with another issue there. I was going to say, when doesn't Filsell look racy? I mean, every time I commentate a race he's in, it just seems like he finds something else compared to everybody else in the field. And once he gets into the lead, it's very rare that people catch back up to him. It's a bit Schumacher-like in that respect. But we'll see what Filsell can do here to move himself and Newman past Christensen for the lead of the race. In the slipstream now, he's going to give a bump to Newman. Gains some extra speed. They're both in the slipstream of Christensen now, who goes defensive. Filsell committing to the racing line. Oh, that's way too deep there for Brad Newman. He's going to fall right in, and oh, he's going to collect Lutzu, Fairbairn and Rattray White on the way on through, and the drama continues. Lutzu and Rattray White will go for a spin as soon as the caution is called once again.
So we're going to see the truck again, and that's great news for Rattray White for Marson, and it gives us an opportunity to look again at what Brad Newman did, which was, I think, miss his braking zone by a couple of states. I think he arrived in Toledo, Ohio before he put on the brakes in towards turn 3 there, and with slightly predictable results.
Yeah, looks like he was flinging his way to the Detroit River there.
And if you do find yourself in Toledo, Ohio, it's absolutely time to pump the brakes.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, man. Fortunately for him, he didn't cross any state lines there, and that just created some chaos for Rattray White and Lutzu in the midst of all of that. That's Fairbairn's view. My goodness. That's certainly not a sight you want to see coming out of the third turn.
Well, he sure had a fair ban.
Yeah, but it was a fair fender bender as well. I would imagine that, of course, was immediately repaired. The truck is out, and we'll collect Jared Filsell, who has found himself in the lead of the race thanks to that incident. Doohan, meanwhile, falling up to second place. Actually, third place, it looks like. Christensen making the move on him there, coming into turn 1. I believe he might have been ahead when the safety car was called. So now we can take a little opportunity to rest once again. And
I've got good facts here.
Oh, yeah?
On December 13, 2012, the fully redesigned 2014 Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra were both introduced in Detroit, Michigan, later making their public debut at the North American International Auto Show.
Nice. Very fun fact indeed. It must have cost the earth to move it, because like looking at the pace truck here, you really get a sense for how small the MX5 really is. Like, this is the ND Miata basically. I drive an NC in the real world, and that's commonly known as the boat because it was a lot bigger than the other MX5s. Every time I see an ND, I'm like, how can people fit in that thing? It's absolutely tiny.
Yeah, they really tried to sort of go back to the original roots of the NA and NB MX5s, and for the most part, pretty well achieved their goal of getting back down to a 1,000 kilogram sports car at significant expense, I believe, which is why they had to partner with what was originally going to be Alfa Romeo and then became a Fiat.
Yeah, true. I see a few of the Fiat version of this car out and about on the road in Perth,
and I don't mind them, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either. They're not a bad looking car, but you know, my cheapskate mind thinks surely you could just save yourself the extra few grand and just buy the MX5. I mean, at least when the Fiat inevitably breaks down, you can get it serviced at a Mazda dealer.
Oh man, okay. Playing some games with the pit entry, but I think this second safety truck situation means that no one needs extra fuel to get to the end. Yeah, the 124 Abarth, built in Japan on the same production line, with the Mazda gearbox, with the Mazda infotainment. Everything on it is Mazda, except for Fiat's 1.4 litre turbo engine.
Yeah, interesting that. And well, yeah, you never know. I mean, obviously Fiat still carries the reputation of being cars that break down easily, but I don't think that's the case now, especially with all those Mazda internals. Probably a very reliable machine.
They got a different accent to them. They got a different flavor. I like them. I'm not sure that I would want one. Same thoughts as you. But when you see one, you're like, Oh yeah, that's cool. It's the like.
Yeah, exactly. I like watching what these drivers are doing under safety truck. By the way, Phil Sell doing the thing of just tapping the brakes and getting the front end to bounce like a Detroit lowrider. Certainly getting into the spirit of downtown Detroit there.
I'm trying to remember if I saw any cool cars in Detroit while I was in Detroit. I don't think I did. The coolest vehicle I saw was here on Belle Isle, and it was the Wild West wagon-shaped ice cream truck.
Oh,
and that was quality.
Any word on the power figures of that?
I don't know how many kilowatts of power an ice cream machine takes, but however many they gave it was just right.
I'm pretty sure they'd have no problem with engine cooling. In any case, the lights are off again here on the pace truck. We're going to get going again for what may very well be the final time in the DoohanOK MX5 series here at Belle Isle. 5 minutes will be on the clock when the drivers get going again. And that's going to be round about 3 or 4 laps to the end of the race. And it's going to be a very frenetic 4 laps this. Jared Phil-Selt is leading the way as things stand as the pace truck pulls in. Jamie Christensen, the winner of the first race here, is going to absolutely go for it, I'm sure. Sorry, winner was Gianni Lutzu. Christensen was second. I am a big stupid man as into turn 1 we come. Phil Selt getting off to a great lead already, but Christensen is chasing. Christensen wants that win from tonight, but he'll have Doohan, Lutzu, Newman, Fairbairn, Rattray White, maybe even Jordi Marçon, who's been off the pace a little bit, but he's right with them here at the end. Could stand a chance of getting a good position if things go his way. Look at that move there from Doohan into turn 3. Lovely stuff.
Big hop over the curb from Doohan, led him to just a little bit of a slide, but he held it into second place. Pressure's going to be on right here. You've got all 8 cars nose to tail on this restart, heading down the back straight. It's brought drivers like Marçon, Zach Rattray White back into the fight, but there's not long left in this race, and that's why they're making moves already.
Yeah, here we go then, side by side between Lutzu and Christensen. Christensen will protect the inside there coming into turn 7, and it's a breakaway from Jared Phil-Selt and Jack Doohan. Brad Newman trying to make up spots and get onto the podium. He wants to join Phil-Selt there, but I mean, he didn't get the result in race 1. He might just find it here in race 2. Doohan's right on the back of Phil-Selt now. We might just see a move for the lead.
I'd call it a near certainty with 2 laps to go coming out of what's functionally the final corner. Just one little kink to lead you to the braking zone of 1. How early do you show with a great opportunity to try to pass into turn 3? Is it too early to go into 1 and 2? Phil-Selt leading. He was so quick when he had clean air, but once you've got drivers on your tail, you simply cannot shake them in Mazda MX5 racing. Nothing between them out of that exit of turn 2, track dropping away as it passes over a little bit of a creek there, and Doohan will look to the inside for the race lead.
Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes, though? Files up the inside of Phil-Selt and gets the move done into turn 3. Phil-Selt tries to cut back, but there's no momentum there in the 94.
Phil-Selt also goes for his own little aerial adventures across the curb through 4, trying to stay close as possible. Christensen right back all over them again.
Yeah, we have a 6-car train for the lead now, seeing that Fairbairn has caught right up to these guys. Rattray White has unfortunately dropped off this pack, but if there's a crash, he'll stand a great chance of getting onto the podium, maybe even the win, as Christensen now files in beside Phil-Selt into turn 7. but Phil Cell's going to try and maintain it here. Defensive into turn 7, defensive into turn 8. Easy does it. This means Doohan's going to break away into the lead, and Lutsu's going to try and get onto the podium here. How hard will he shuffle with Christensen into turn 11? Christensen just flings it in and actually compromises Lutsu on the exit, so he'll maintain the place, but keep an eye out for Newman and Fairbairn behind.
Fairbairn gets down the inside and Newman there, heading into this sequence of double right-handers. Fastest way through here is right up against the walls, and that's what they're doing. Is it the white flag? Does Barney have it in his hand? He does. It was so close, but he's decided to throw it.
This will be the final lap of the race, and Jack Doohan leads the way here. He's got a crucial gap of 0.6 of a second. That's going to be tough for Phil Cell to make up, with Christensen and Lutsu right behind him and looking to get things done. Side by side again between Fairbairn and Newman. That's giving Rattray White a chance to get into the top 5 potentially. Look at how hard they're pushing, all of them finding the grass there on the exit of turn 3.
You got so few opportunities left, but the end of the back straight is the biggest one for Phil Cell, for Christensen.
Oh, Phil Cell's drifting. Oh, this is letting Doohan get away from it. Lutsu is going to take advantage and move through into second. Christensen compromised by the recovering Phil Cell. How hard are they going to fight in these last few corners? I don't think anyone's going to be able to catch Doohan at this stage. Have a look at Brad Newman. He thinks, yes, turn 7 is a good opportunity for me to get up the inside of Jamie Christensen, and Christensen gets sent into the wall.
Well, he's had a couple of out-of-control moments breaking down the inside this race, Brad Newman, but he holds on to that one, maybe much to the dismay of Jamie Christensen.
Oh, Doohan! Doohan spun at turn 11! What on earth has gone on there for the driver who was leading by many a car length? Gianni Lutsu is going to fall into the lead. It fell right into his hands. He's going to come away with a double victory here tonight in the DoohanOK MX5 series at Belle Isle. What a final lap.
My oh my, how does that happen? He had a 1.5 second lead. Jack Doohan ends up in the wall. Have a look at this.
I mean, he did it all by himself. Oh, what a shame. The concrete just grabbed him there on the exit, and, well, he got it turned the right way around eventually, but he would finish in 6th place as a result. But how would you be if you're Gianni Lutsu, coming away with 2 wins from 2 races here on the streets of Detroit?
Ooh. And in dramatic fashion for race number 2.
Yeah, very dramatic fashion indeed. 0.6 was the gap at the end, with Phil Cell getting a 3rd and a 2nd from tonight. Zach Rattray White getting onto the podium. He'll be very happy with that one, with Newman in 4th. The Formula Ford driver, Jeremy Fairbairn, rounding out the top 5 ahead of Jack Doohan, with Christensen and Marson, the final finishers, 10 and 13 seconds back. All drivers who started finished the race in race 2, with Jason Newman unfortunately not taking part in either race tonight, though he was here in practice. Hopefully we'll be able to see him in action next round. It will certainly be nice to see.
Hopefully we see lots of people next round at Mount Panorama, because it's not only, you know, Australia's greatest racing track, our holy grail, but it's perfect for these cars in the way that they've been racing as well, with the long uphill mountain straight, massively high speeds down Conrod Straight, and then the committed stuff across the top of the mountain. It's just got all the ingredients for good MX5 racing, even if it wasn't in our own backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. Love watching MX5s at Mount Panorama. It's going to be a fantastic race. We hope that you tune in here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick on the 9th of July. Keep your eyes peeled for further developments. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Really appreciate you tuning in for the second round of the DoohanOK MX5 series here on SimSpeed TV. I'm Reese Gardner, David Haynes with me in the comms box, and Dan Yeaman behind the scenes pressing all the buttons. We say goodbye for now, but certainly not forever.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.